Today I'm going to show you how to fix the Synology DS1515 Plus units. This one is completely dead, has no power at all. This one does have power, but won't initialize. Let's start by fixing the completely dead one. We have 5 screws on the back. We'll slide the shell back and away. Next we have 2 more screws. Flip the unit over, 2 more on the bottom. Flip it back again. Disconnect the fan connectors. We have our power connector here, buttons, and 1 more cable connector here. Next we can unscrew the motherboard. There are 2 little circuit boards back here that connect into the motherboard. So when we remove it, we want to start by this corner, lifting gently, and then we can remove it. The common thought process for a completely dead no power fault would be, well, the power supply is defective. However, in my experience with the DS1515 Plus units, the power supply almost never fails. Most often the issue comes from the motherboard. And for the specific component, we're gonna have to look at it under the microscope. So this is our power connector. And if we keep looking over to the left, we'll see a transistor at location ID Q2. This is the component in question that typically fails. For us to fix this board, we're going to have to replace it. When removing this transistor, we want to be very careful of the R13 resistor and the C2 capacitor right over there. If we're not careful, we could easily knock them off and lose them. So I am flooding all 3 sides of the transistor with some solder, going back and forth until I can knock it off. Alternatively, you could use hot air, but we need to be very careful of the plastic connector over here, otherwise you'll melt it. Next, I'm going to use my desolder wick to clean off the pads. Use a little isopropyl alcohol and a Q-tip to remove any residual flux. We'll tin one of the pads, which means just adding solder to it, and we'll melt that pad as I slide in the transistor into place. Next, we'll lock in another side, and last pin. And there we go. All right, let's go ahead and reinstall the motherboard into our unit and see if that fixed our issue. So for this part, I'm only going to install our front buttons and our power supply. We'll plug in the power supply and press our power button. And look at that. We now have power again. Now my alert light is on, which is probably because my fans are disconnected, but we have resolved the no power issue. So let's go ahead and put it all back together, retest it, and in the meantime, we'll take a look at the other unit. Now the second unit that I'm opening up is actually really gross. There's a lot of dust, hairs, and other particles inside of the unit. So we're gonna do a quick clean, and then we'll go ahead and open it up a little further. Just finished dusting the unit. Let's go ahead and plug it back in. Power it on. And something I want to note is our LAN light is actually turning on even though I don't have an Ethernet cable connected. Something else I noticed during our cleaning is that we actually have a hole inside of this chip. There's an actual hole. And if we look at that chip with our infrared camera, we'll notice that that chip is actually getting really hot. We're getting 73 degrees, 75, and rising. That's not normal. That's a problem. So in order to fix this unit, we are going to have to replace that chip. Now a little bonus is it does look like our unit is still displaying an alert light despite everything being put back together, including the fans. So we're also going to reopen this one and identify what is causing that alert light. All right, so I've removed the motherboard out of the unit and it looks like we have found some additional damage. So this silver block over here is our Ethernet ports, and we'll notice a little burn damage to the ground over here on the side. And of course, these 3 components are pretty much fried. So these are our 4 Ethernet ports, and if we flip the board over to the back, these are the pins that connect it to the board, and they all go to this Ethernet controller, which is the chip that was damaged. So what we're gonna do first is remove that chip. We'll remove the 3 burnt components. We'll install the motherboard back into the NAS and see that if that allows the NAS to actually boot up. So for this next step, we're going to be using a combination of our hot air and our soldering iron to remove that chip. I'm going to first start by adding solder to all of the pins. The reason for this is I want to get really good flow, and I don't want to rip any traces. This extra solder is also going to give me a visual indicator of when the solder is molten and the chip ready to lift off. I'm gonna add a little bit of flux as well, which will help with better flow. And now we're gonna come in with our hot air in combination with the iron. And it does look like we have good flow here. All sides are molten. I'm gonna try and lift the chip. And I'm having a very hard time. Feels like it's stuck on the board almost. We want to be careful. I think the bottom pad is, ow, It's very hot. So this can happen sometimes. Often when there is a power surge or lightning strike that occurs, it can cause the chip that's damaged to actually fuse with the board. So what I'm going to do next here is actually just lift every pin off of the pads on the perimeter. All right, so I have desoldered all the legs of every side of this chip. We are gonna reheat it. We're gonna try to desolder it as much as we can so that we can minimize the damage. All right, and let's see. And that was way easier than expected, so it's possible I just didn't have enough heat the first time around. But it looks like I did damage a couple of traces, so we'll have to fix those. Okay, let's try and clean up some of this flux just so we can get a better view. Okay, now we can zoom in a little more, and let's move that pin back over. I think this trace is gonna get damaged as I try to flush it back down. Ugh. All right, well, the point is that we don't have any bridges right now, which is the important piece here. And it does appear that this trace over here that is completely missing is a no connect, so that's totally fine. Flip the board around, we'll get a little bit better lighting, and let's add some flux here. Okay, and that looks a lot better. All right, and same as before, we're gonna plug the front panel buttons back in along with our power. And before we power it on, quick update on the other unit that is now triggering the alert light. It does seem like it's shutting itself off after about 5 minutes or so. So let's go ahead and now plug this guy in. Unit is turning on. We are not getting our LAN light this time, so let's go ahead and wait a few minutes. In the meantime, let's re-explore this guy. So we'll disassemble it again. Oh, and I'm seeing a green status light, which we were not getting before. And it just booted, look at that. It sounds like it just initialized. Now obviously it is missing the network controller IC, so it can't be detected on the network until we install a brand new one. We'll do that in a minute. Let's just check out this guy for the alert light. Now this alert light is actually a very common issue that we see with a lot of the 2015 Synology NAS units, and that's because they suffer from the Atom 2000 bug, which simply means that the Intel CPU is a 2000 series processor that has a clock failure, and in order to fix it, we will simply install a 100 ohm resistor between pins 1 and 6 of connector J5. So over here is our RAM, below is the CMOS, and below that is our J5 connector, labeled right over here. Over here we have pin 1, and we're going to put in our resistor in pin 1 and 6, which is this one right there. We're going to push that all the way through, flip the board over, and solder it down from the back. This should bring our clock signal back within spec and allow the unit to boot up properly. We'll cut off the leads, and there we go. So now the unit that is actually fully booted, which is not going to be detectable on the network, is still working, was still good. Let's use that power to power this one on, and let's go ahead and install that replacement Ethernet controller. Let's take a look. So before, my alert light was already triggered, and it is not at this time, so this is good news. Put it to the side, and look at that. This unit finally initialized. It looks like we have a fully functional unit now, finally. So I actually am out of stock of brand new replacement chips, so what we're gonna have to do is scavenge one off of a different motherboard that has a different issue. But in the meantime, I did connect this first unit to our Ethernet, and it is now detectable on our network. So that does confirm this unit is fully functional and fixed. So we're gonna want to clean up the original pads of any solder. We want to be very careful because we have a little bit of damage. We're going to keep using our desolder wick to remove some of that solder. These traces over here all look pretty good, so we don't have to be as careful. Still want to be careful, but should be okay for the most part. A couple of traces are twisted a little bit at the ends, and this is where it's kind of a real bloodbath. Now the problem with this one is I have a lot of capacitors right below the pins, the pads, and I have a couple that are flipped over. Well, one that's flipped over right here, and I don't know that I can flip it back over. So we're not gonna actually even attempt. Just gonna try to delicately clean. We're going to add a little bit of solder paste to our ground. Now this is the replacement chip that I just grabbed off of a donor board, and it looks like this is gonna be our orientation. And I'm saying that because we have a little triangle over here indicating pin 1 on the board, and a little dot down here indicating pin 1 on the chip. So what I like to do is just take one of the corner pins, add some solder, we're gonna lock it in. Okay, lock in that pin, maybe these over here. Let's go ahead and add some flux to all sides. And next we're gonna use our hot air. And what we're doing here, we're just really focusing on soldering that ground pad. And that's why I have my tool. I'm pressing down on the chip. Okay, and I think it just settled in. And I think it shifted. It did. As it settled in, it shifted. So this is when we want to try to make our little adjustments. Okay, that's going to be good enough for now, because I don't want to put too much heat for too long, and I was on there already for quite some time. So we'll go ahead and solder down a few of the areas, and we'll make any other adjustments necessary in a minute. All right, so zooming in a little bit more. There we go. Perfect. So I think this full side here is good. We're going to do one last pass. Just a couple pins that don't look like they have quite enough solder. Okay. This is our side with our pin over here that is flipped over. It is also now pushed over, which is a bad thing. Okay, I cannot push it back because it looks like it is actually soldered down. Yeah, I still have a bridge. Okay, I think that'll do. Perfect. I've reinstalled the motherboard back into the unit. I have my Ethernet plugged in. Let's go ahead and plug in the unit. My power light is on. I'm not necessarily expecting all 4 ports to work because we did have a dramatic event which also knocked out those capacitors, which we have not replaced yet. Let's wait just another minute for it to initialize. And you know what? It just did, and I have my LAN light, and both of our lights over here are, oh, I just disconnected it. Okay, yep, both of our lights here are blinking, they're present, and I was just able to confirm I am able to detect it on the network. All right, let's do some more checks here. So clearly we can see both lights. Let's disconnect, try the next one, and this one's completely dead. I'm not getting either of my lights, and none of my LAN lights are turning on. Let's try the next one. Okay, I have one LAN light, but not the other. Okay, LAN 1 is on allegedly. All right, let's check to see if it's still detectable. I don't think it will be. Okay, it is actually detectable with that port. Let's try the last one, and also am not getting anything at all. So 2 of the 4 ports are working, 2 are not. So let's replace those 3 capacitors that have burnt up and see if we can get the other 2 going. All right, we've installed the 3 capacitors, and I also rechecked the chip. I found 2 traces that were damaged. 1 trace was damaged, 1 of the pins was not making proper contact. So I did fix that as well. Our unit is plugged back in, and we're rechecking. So LAN 4 is good, and that's the one that was originally good as well. This one, I believe, was completely dead, and we now have one of our two lights coming up, and it is not saying that it's connected here in the front. Let's just recheck real quick on the network. All right, and it is saying it is detectable, but I'm not 100% sure whether or not it is going to be able to properly receive and send data. This one is the same thing. We only have one of the two lights, and it is detecting on the front, however, here. It's saying LAN 2 is detected. And let's see, LAN 1. LAN 1, we have no lights. And of course, no lights here. Let's just double check, but I'm sure it will not detect. Okay, and indeed it did not. I'm gonna go back to the LAN 3. And the reason I wanna do LAN 3 is because it only has one of the two lights. And I'm also not seeing the actual light in the front indicating that it is connected. All right, so let's redo a search, and it is seeing it. So let's go ahead and install, next. All right, and it's gonna take a couple minutes, but I just wanna make sure that the LANs, at least 4, 3, and 2 are working as they should. I do believe they are. So typically the reason this happens is because of a power surge or lightning strike that enters through the Ethernet cable and affect and damage these NAS units. So the LAN 1 most likely is the port where that surge did come through, and so most likely it itself is just damaged. But as long as we can get LANs 2, 3, 4 working, I think this will be good enough for us to call this a successful repair. So something I want to address while we wait for this unit to reboot is that for all the 2015 Synology NAS units, there are typically 3 or 4 components that are known to commonly fail. And we don't just fix the immediate fault like we did today, where we replaced only the Q2 transistor and then only the resistor. We will typically replace all of the components that are known to commonly fail. Otherwise, it is possible that the unit might fail again in the next 6 months to a year. We also do offer a 1-year warranty for all of these repairs, which also have options for 2 and 5-year extended warranties on the website. All right, and our status light is finally back. Let's wait another second. Okay, it just booted, and yep, it's detectable. Now, we'll notice we still don't have our LAN light for LAN 3, I believe it is. Okay, and I mean, it looks like we're all set here. So we are detecting our drive. Okay, and it is actually just now throwing an alert, but I do think that that is because our fans are not connected. And it does say reason for current beep, cooling fan malfunction. So if you have a unit you would like to send in for us to fix, we do offer the flat rate services, which come with the 1-year warranty. Those are available on our website, which I will link in the video description down below. If you found the video helpful or useful, leave us a like, subscribe for more content, and thank you for watching.